All right, torture, extortion, human rights abuse and malicious arrests are some of the allegations that have been leveled against officers of the Police Special Anti-Robbery Squad, also known as SARS, and that's been over time. Now, Nigerians have resumed a social media drive aimed at forcing the Buhari administration to take immediate steps to contain rising cases of brutality linked to SARS officers.
Now, the latest crusade began on Twitter on June the 9th with hundreds of Nigerians narrating their ordeal during alleged encounters with SARS personnel whose primary focus should have been on curbing violent crimes like armed robbery, vandalism and kidnapping. In November 2017, when the hashtag #EndSARS first began trending, the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, announced some institutional changes. The IGP banned SARS operatives from indiscriminate stop and search duties and even appointed a police commissioner to oversee the activities of the squad.
Yes, indeed. But over 6 months later, little appears to have changed, as latest complaints online indicate a disregard of the IGP's directive. And now, following this new outcry against SARS operatives, the Nigeria Police have set up a 6-member team to receive and investigate petitions against the squad. All right. Thank you very much, Chris, for staying with us. Definitely, we're hoping to be joined by the EndSARS reform.
The police.
Yeah.
The convener
of that
the hashtag
particular hashtag.
It's gaining ground. It's gaining.
You know, incidentally, it's actually
across.
not the first time
It's certainly
the
not the
calls
first time.
for EndSARS have happened.
Yeah.
Pre-1999, there were calls for EndSARS because they have always been.
You know, that time we didn't have hashtag.
There was no hashtag.
So you couldn't
definitely,
go. There wasn't
but there
viral.
were calls. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kehinde-Nwandu, this call to end SARS, is it extreme? Or, on the other hand, when the IG, Ibrahim Idris, says he will reform SARS, and analysts are saying, look, there's nothing to show that these people are really being reformed. Is it a case of, you know, the IG not having control over his own men?
It's obvious. From all indication, it's obvious that this is spinning out of control, and that even the IGP directive has been ignored. But this is not surprising to some of us. In the past, we have every successive Inspector General of Police that comes in, the first thing says, oh, I've dismantled all roadblocks across the country. We don't want to see any policemen on roadblocks, no stop and search, blah, 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 blah. Just as the man is saying it, they're adding more. Okay, go across the states. Once you leave the Lagos-Ibadan toll gate, you really hit from here down. Before you get to Shagamu interchange, you see them at that interchange. Multiple. At now it's like every 2 minutes. By the time you are seeing one at a block, as you are just leaving, just as you are leaving that particular point, you are seeing another set in front and the rest of them. And
they are going to subject to the
same
or questioning
the same thing
but
over
you just
and
left
over.
Isn't there a connection between?
There have instances even within the same unit. This particular person would have cleared you, and they probably have collect whatever. I don't want to. Someone, the one in front, will stop you and say, "Spark." You say, "Better have just." I don't want to hear that. So it's a big problem, and some of us thought that when the Inspector General of Police set up a central unit for SARS with the commanding office within the headquarters of the Nigerian Police in Abuja, we thought that would have solved the problem. But it's becoming just so terrible. And the way and manner they go about it is what is even so terrible. Yes, first and foremost, their mode of dressing. Yes, we've seen the FBI's, we've seen other agencies across the globe.
Very menacing look.
You understand me?
Yeah.
These guys, some of them just wear ordinary T-shirt, and you see them carrying guns, and the rest of them, they're on painted vehicles.
You can't
differentiate them.
You don't know if they're cultists or they're armed robbers.
That is it. In fact, it has become so bad that if you realized by yesterday or 2 days ago, yesterday, there was an incident in Rivers State where 6 fake policemen were arrested. They had this police vest with them. They even have vehicles with the, with the siren,
yes,
siren and everything. So but they were not wearing a
regular
uniform. They were not wearing uniform, just jeans and this. They put on the police vest, and that's it. And that is what is happening even with SARS now. So it's difficult for you to distinguish between the genuine policemen and those that are. So it is a big problem that we think that the IG of police should just have to take.
Okay,
into
let me read this quotation from Professor Claudia K., renowned political economist. Now, he said, at independence, the form and function of the state in Africa did not change much. State power remained essentially the same, immense, arbitrary, often violent, always threatening. Now, if we liken it to what is going on now, certainly SARS is an agency of the state, one way or the other.
It is.
If you see, there has been complaints, even in the days of Margaret Ekpo, when he led the popular about women riot. A lot of women some women were killed, some were arbitrarily, and so on. It hasn't changed even from that time until now.
Yeah, that's the issue. And to even make it more worrisome is presently as we have it, our security agencies, especially the police, has a lot on their table. Okay, that all these unnecessary distractions is not even needed. Why this is coming to the phone now, even more, is because of advent of social media. Okay, this has been happening in the past, but there have not been any avenue of expressing these people. But there's one that happened just 2 days ago. A HR manager of one of the organizations was just accosted along Agidingbi Road. The guy said he was with his, he just finished a program, he just finished coming out of a program on one of the radio stations, which are listening, when they just accosted him just by Cadbury, bundled him and just took him away. And we took him round and round and round, and until they took him to, they got up to area F, and the guy said, why don't we just enter the police station and let me,
police.
Tell me what happened. They said, no. They drove all the way to GRA. Now asked his relatives that he should shut up. One of them was telling him that he should shut up. I've been drinking blood, according to what he said. That was going on social media. If you don't cooperate, we'll waste you and rest of them. And when the police spokesman, my friend Chike was, he said that couldn't have been a policeman. That couldn't have been policemen.
Unfortunately, there have been repeated stories, many that you cannot even begin to.
So many.
Videos going viral, pictures of all kinds.
All right, let's bring in our other guest, Segun Awosonya, who is convener NSAS Reform Police NG. Many thanks for joining us this
really
morning.
Nice to see you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
All right, let's have you weigh in on this NSAS. You are the convener, and some people who are standing on the other side are saying those calling for NSAS really do not understand the implications of this. Just imagine Nigeria without SARS, because initially they were set up to fight, all the violent crimes that have been on the rise everywhere, all across the country.
One thing we must understand is that people, because of the way they have abused and balkanized our institutions, because of nepotism and because of the fact that we have jettisoned meritocracy, for people who know people, to get into places, that we're now having issues where the most important institution in Nigeria has become an aberration. And in such a sense that when you look at the mannerism, the speeches, the way the people in charge of intelligence in Nigeria speak, you wonder what has become of this country. Because again, you need to understand something before you can actually criticize it. If you are a product manager of a company and you have a product out there or a service out there and you have thousands of complaints about such products, you don't force it down people's throats. You recall such products. Cars are being recalled. Products are being recalled. Services are being re-engineered. But in Nigeria, we live a revisionary life where we get stuck in the past. And if you have a civilization where law and order is not prioritized, where people who are meant to maintain law and order are the lawbreakers, where people who carry guns on our streets are drug dealers, where people who carry guns on our street are cultists, where people who carry guns on our street are being shielded, protected, and defended by the same authority on taxpayers' money. There's a big problem here we need to look at, and it's not something that we can caramelize or politicize or find a way of justifying. Because it's appalling when you hear people who speaks for the police of a country, an erstwhile giant of Africa, saying that people who call for at the end of something that is not even created by law. This is something that was brought about during the military junta, during the military interregnum. You know, and as it were, we no longer live in 1992. The world has moved on. Nigeria should move on. If we want to have an elite team, let us have an elite team, not armed robbers. What the police are doing right now is that they are justifying armed robbery, state-backed organized crime syndicates.
All right, now let's even talk about, Segun, let me stay with you here. Let's even talk about the ideology of the police in the first place. People travel across the world and you see the police originally to protect, to serve with integrity. We had that slogan for the police here before, but it was removed. Back to the Nigeria Police Force. Now,
and then the force was removed at a point.
Yes, Nigeria Police. You know, it goes back and forth. But does the Nigeria Police really have a consistent ideology where it is meant to be of service to Nigeria and to protect Nigerians?
The Nigerian police have suffered a lot of atrocities when it comes to ideology. There's no ideology in our politics, there's no ideology in our polity, there's no ideology in anything that in our institutions anymore because, of course, meritocracy have been kicked out. Now, if you look at the police, the trajectory of the Nigerian police, it started as, you know, an organization or an institution that protects the colonialists from the people. And that mentality has not left the police.
An agent of oppression.
An agent of oppression, suppression. You know, every power block or every civilization or nation or country operates, you know, in such a way that we have the control of belief and group mind and ideas. We have the control of money, taxation, and finance. We also have the monopoly of violence. So, as it were, now the police is actually, because it's the closest authority, you know, to the people. You know, so they are actually using that. They maintain that. Our political class have maintained, you know, the police the way it is as an institution that tends to subjugate the people, oppress the people, and extract obedience from them through fear.
Chris, let me bring this to you. In all fairness, some would say, how do you expect so much from the Nigeria police, including SARS, that is within the police, when it is truly a reflection of the rot that it is all pervasive in all of society? That first off, what is foundational is what we have not looked at: the welfare, all manner of things that really should be provided for the police to function well. Then it would be, it would be fair for us to expect so much from them.
Yes, I think the fundamental problem we have is start with recruitment of officers of the Nigerian police. In recent time, Nigerian police, well, with all due respect, is not your first choice in terms of employment. Okay, because...
but it wasn't always that way.
No, that's what I'm saying.
There was a time when you would ask the average Nigerian child, what do you want to be in future? And he would say, I want to be a policeman.
Yes, it's just, and it's a fact, But now, most of the people that go into police recruitment areas are people that have no alternative. They just look at this as a last resort for them. You understand? So, at that point, there is a problem. Two, some of the things you have enumerated, the issue of remuneration and the rest of them. But you also realize that police are not the least paid employers in Nigeria. They are not. It might not be coming as regularly as it, but they are not the least paid. One thing, if you agree to take up a job, you must take up the challenges that comes with it. It's a fact. Okay? If you agree to be a soldier, first and foremost, you know that you are there to defend the integrity of your country. And in course of doing that job, your life, you at times you put your life on the line. Those are basics. You understand? Most of the time, that is it. The same thing with the Nigerian police and other security agencies. The problem I personally have is that I think it's that of leadership. We don't have a police force with a kind of leadership by example. Okay, we have some fantastic guys in the Nigerian police. I used to say it every time. I've met some very, very high-ranking police officers, and I can name some of them. Fatah Owoseni is a fantastic policeman. He's in Benue now. The present commissioner of police in Lagos is a very, very fantastic guy. Another guy is Tunji Disu, the guy in charge of RRS in Lagos. Fantastic guy. Okay. Now, the problem is that the police is, don't forget, the question is not that they should scrap SARS. What they've been calling for is a reform. We are not saying that SARS should be scrapped. There used to be a guy.
He's shaking his head already. Is it end SARS?
Let him end. We're coming to that.
What most people have been saying. I have been, as a journalist, I've got myself embedded in SARS for some days to see how they operate. In fact, there was a time I was at SARS, the one in Ikeja here, for about 3-4 days. I was studying the way and manner they do their job. These guys, the genuine ones, go through a lot of stress to do their job. They also put their lives online. Most of them are people that even their own personal security is not secured. Okay? Yes, it's a fact.
Due to time, let me bring Segun in here. Now, you started the End SARS Reform the Police movement or initiative, as the case may be. What is the ultimate goal, objective of that movement, and what's the response so far right now?
When you look at the hashtag, you have End SARS, you have Reform Police NG. End SARS is an objective, and the Reform Police NG is the end goal of that matter. When people argue about End SARS, that it shouldn't end, it should be reformed, they don't understand the problem. Because the reason why I say so is they don't look in depth. I've seen the architecture of the Homeland Security, as it were. Everything, every service under the Ministry of Interior. And I know how they are constituted. So forget about the isomorphic mimicry, the noise, the moving around furnitures and what have you. Those are just activities, emotions that shows no movement. Okay? We're looking deep into what constitutes the core, the crust of the matter. And which is, number one, you talked about recruitment. How are these people recruited? Which law stipulate that criminals should be given guns and be allowed to roam the streets, to go amok?
But is it right to conclude that members of SARS are criminals
who are given armed by the state?
Because we have data. They don't even have data. You cannot collate data. There's no extrapolation of data over time that that are credible, that you can even hold on to.
But we have to put it in context, because the moment you tag someone a criminal, there must have been a court that would have convicted the person as a criminal, and it is on record that the person is a criminal. So if there are no records of such, will you call anybody a criminal?
Will you say there are no records when police on a weekly basis try carry out investigations on their men and dismiss them based on the claims that we have, based on investigation that we have made? Will you say that you have not accepted the fact that there's a problem within the system? And this thing happens every day, even as of this morning. Citizens we call that they have been kidnapped by our own SARS men, kidnapped, taken to some corners and extorted. Our own, so what were we saying? Are we divorcing the law from law enforcers? Are we saying that we can, because of one person in 12, we can allow them to continue to run amok? If you have a teenager right now, it is one of the greatest risks you can find yourself in Nigeria. Because you cannot you're not rest assured of their safety.
A lot of people are saying, if you end SARS, for instance, and say, okay, let us assuming the police say, okay, we ban or disband SARS, but armed robbery is going to be on the increase. In as much as we hear of high-handedness and all of that, but the work they're doing cannot be overemphasized or underestimated.
I think we should try as much as possible to be progressive in our thinking. We should be innovative in the way we conceptualize things. We have been driven, probably because of the damage done by the military days or so, or those dark days of the military interregnum. We always assume that armed robbery can be fought by force or by arms or by... No, it's an ideology, because it is not police that actually stop crime. It is the society that comes together to say, We don't want this in our area. And if you say you don't want, just like we have the bubonic plague and people saying not in my backyard.
Yeah.
When we come together and say we don't want a life of crime, we begin to go deep down into the family unit, responsible parenting, you know, and all these things. It's all about values. We have lost values. So it's not about what is police for? If we are assuming that police is moribund and we are wasting our taxpayers' money on police and we depend on SARS. Where was SARS during the major robberies in Nigeria? Between 2014 and 2018, the Offa robbery is there, the Lekki robbery is there. Where was SARS?
And even the
and
days
even
of
one,
Lawrence
it was led
Anini.
by SARS. You understand? So we need to we need to stop building comfort within an area, within zones that emanated from the past. We must be able to move forward. There can't be progress if we stop being afraid of the unknown. Okay? We're talking about recruitment. These are people who were brought into the system based on who they know, not because they qualify to do the job. These are people, these are cultists, these are people who are brought into the system not because they know the job or know the law.
Okay,
You know,
so there is the militarization of SARS, which is at the core of this problem. But then again, how do we move forward? What is the role of the community? Community policing, a lot of people have talked about that. Of course, we hear that a desk has been set up at the SARS, office where members of the public can actually lay complaints about any erring SARS members and all of that. How do we move forward from this SARS problem?
Yes, we tend to have short-term and long-term solutions. Short-term is for us to reform the organization, and it must be total reform. Something happened a few days ago, and maybe many people are not aware. In Lagos State, the Commissioner of Police disbanded the anti-cult squad.
Yes.
In Lagos. He disbanded it, removed the commander. Okay? He has appointed another person and asked for new officers. When the words of the police, in this press statement that was issued, they said that because they were found wanting, some of them were into corruption, yes, and some of them were into activities that was inimical to their calling as policemen. That is the courage of an officer. It takes the courage. That's why I talk about leadership. You must show leadership. Those have been removed. Any other person that's just been appointed, we know that, my brother, we're watching you. You must be above board.
Yeah.
The same thing with SARS. Come to think of it, a few years back, we had somebody in Lagos that was the officer, the guy in charge of SARS. His name is Abakari. He is now a deputy commissioner of police. The guy behind the arrest of Evans and the rest of even the Offa robberies. When Abakari was in SARS, yes, there were some few, but you didn't. It wasn't as bad as we. Yes, it wasn't as bad as we have it.
All right. We look forward
to be able to do that.
All right, it's good to know that there are shining lights in SARS. Yeah. It's not as terrible as it is.
Yes.
In the police, as a matter of fact, yes, and you have named quite a number of them. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Kehinde-Nwandu is the CEO, CKN News, and of course, Segun Awosonya is the convener. Hashtag #EndSARS Reform.
Police NG.
Police NG. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Thank you so much.
Thank you.